just really happy to be here. I think we met back in February, Steve, and mentioned this, and so just really, really pleased to be part of this. So I noticed that you all have something written on about what your intention is for today. If you have, throw things at the lawyer, sort of cross that off, okay? My intention is to be entertaining and informative. So I'm just going to, what I'm going to be speaking about is the importance of creativity in what you create and where that legal line is so that you can understand what, if you've created something that you own or whether you created something that isn't past that line. You've been merely inspired. But quick background, I found in the past that people, well, I just like to talk about myself, I guess. So, born and raised Calgarian, third generation Albertan. I was born to be a musician. My father was a champion fiddler, and in World War II, because of his fiddle skills, he was not put to the front lines, and so he was held back to entertain the troops. And so when my sister and I were born in the early 50s, we were, you're going to be musicians. So in the heyday of the Beatles, when parents were going crazy that their kids were growing long hair and playing rock, I was encouraged. And so I started playing when I was 5 years old, and then rock and roll for me from 18 to 28. It was drugs, sex, rock and roll, and what I can remember about it, it was a heck of a lot of fun. But then got serious at age 28. I was at my mom and dad's house, I remember it vividly. And I had a couple of years of Bachelor of Music from 72, I guess it was. And I was at my mom and dad's house in May 1979. And I was going to enroll into third year Bachelor of Music with my full intent to go be a lawyer, an entertainment lawyer, because that was my network. So that night, registering in spring, I got a phone call from this guy, and they said, "Wayne, we're going to put a band together. We'd like you to play keyboards." And I went, "No, I'm going to go be a lawyer," all puffy chest as hell. Yours truly turned down the job to be the keyboard player for Loverboy. And worked for the Weekend was the biggest hit in the world in about 9 months. Go figure. Music's my passion. But then what happened changed my life, and I'd like to mention this. So got through law school. It was tough. It was hard for me to compete, but made it through, and was determined to be an entertainment lawyer in sports. And I ended up sitting next to Colleen Howe, Gordie Howe's wife. They were in Calgary filming the very first hockey series, Here's Hockey, Here's How, of course. And it was a joint venture thing with Southland, out of Southland Leisure with CFCN. And I ended up sitting, a friend of mine was doing lights and sound, I ended up sitting next to Colleen Howe, and Gordie was right there. And at that point in time, he was a pretty major hero. Most of us know who Gordie Howe is. The young crowd is different. In any event, so Colleen Howe said that she wanted to put a book together on Hockey Hall of Famers, and I didn't have a clue, and I just said, I can do that. And she already had the title figured out. It was called After the Applause and involved 10 Hockey Hall of Famers, so I ended up working with Jean Beliveau, Rocket Richard, doing their books. It changed my life. My point here, though, is I, without knowing much of anything, said I can do that. And it wasn't me that negotiated the book publishing contract. I was just standing there, and Gordie and Colleen pulled it off. And yeah, keep your mouth shut, Wayne. In any event, a couple years later, we formed a hockey agency. It had nothing to do with Gordie, but we became NHL player agents. And again, the reason I'm bringing this up, I was sitting playing scrimmage hockey with a bunch of lawyers, and a guy sitting next to me, he wasn't a lawyer, said, "Geez, I'd like to put together an NHL player agency." And they had just published the NHL contract, so that was a big deal because everybody knew what everybody was making, so there was a demand for agents. And I said, I can do that. Didn't have a clue, and we became the fourth largest NHL agency in the world. We had 67 players in the NHL around 1994, and away it went. So don't be scared to say, I can do that. So that's your intention for today, I can do that. Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about intellectual property. There's a real tendency amongst lawyers and folks to talk about the high-level intellectual property, patents, trademarks, industrial designs, those sort of things. The underlying important intellectual property is copyright. It's the very first expression of your genius, your imagination, your curiosity. It's what you write down, it's what you record. So we're going to very quickly, briefly talk about the copyright and what that means, because it's the only intellectual property statute that has statutory damages, potential criminal charges, and it's very clear, and because of treaties, it's mostly standardized around the world. Mostly, not completely. So the very first thing with copyright, whatever you're inventing, piece of music, piece of software, artwork, masterpiece, it can only be created by an individual, an author. An author can be an individual. Corporations don't exist. It's a figment of our imagination. Corporation can be the owner, but it's always the author has to create it. Remember that. So whatever you're inventing has to be substantially completed. Once your work is substantially completed, deem it done. Don't erase that file. Keep that. And then, of course, you're working on version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4, of course. But people will come into me and they'll say, Wayne, my widget got knocked off and these drawings are software. And I said, when did you invent it? And they go, well, I don't know. So you've got to keep track if you're an intellectual creative person. Well, maybe that's an oxymoron, but whatever. If you're a creative person, when you express it, note that date, and then of course you're working on version 2, version 3, version 4. Number 2, it has to be expressed, right? Which means it has to be captured. So this lady right here is taking notes. You're taking notes. Who owns your notes? What do you mean? It's my words, right? So you think you own your own notes? What do you think? Of course you do. My point here is that the person that captures it becomes the owner. If you've got that great melody, that great business plan, that new widget, that's whatever, right? For Pete's sakes, capture it yourself. Don't blindly talk about it, because if I was to go, some great lick song or some great idea for a business, and I haven't captured it myself, I'm giving it away. Incredibly important. So make sure you capture it. And here's a really good idea. So let's assume I'm going up to Day One Media, and I'm saying I need a logo. And I say, I got a few ideas. I'd like to have a few circles, a cow pie, a mouse turd, and a few other things, right? And he captures that. Who's the owner? He is, right? Work for hire does not exist in Canada. In U.S., if I pay him, I become the owner. Not in Canada. So even if I pay him, and it's really good, well, obviously really good, then I have to have a separate piece of paper that says, Day One Media, here one transfers to Wayne Logan this logo. Okay? Incredibly important. Now, if I were to draw it myself and then hand it to him, different ballgame, right? Because now he's being an editor in a version, but you want to, and doing his own versions. But you got to be very careful. I would still want to have him transfer me ownership, even if I mapped it out first myself. Second thing, so I'm back, and we haven't got an agreement in writing, and he does my logo. Or my website. And I want to make some changes. Heck, it's my website, I bought it. I now bought my logo from him, and I want to make some changes. Can I? No. Not unless there's a waiver of moral rights. And the famous case in Canada is the Eaton Centre, 1972. If you go to the Eaton Centre, there's 5 geese heading south. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They decided at Christmas time to put red ribbons around the neck, and the sculptor sued, said, no, I did not design them for red ribbons. $250,000 statutory damages, 1972 money. Take your moral rights seriously. Now, does he want to waive his moral rights? Of course not. He wants me to come back, and for him it's keeping the integrity of his work. that may be appropriate in a logo, but for websites, it's hey, I want to make a few changes, you know. So anyways, that's very, very important. So now that that's copyright. Oh, authors. Authors are individuals. A corporation can be an owner. Co-authoring. If 2 or 3 or 4 of you get together and you co-author something and you don't have it figured out what your ownership is, I'm the one making the money, okay? It is incredibly important that if you are in a co-authoring situation, that you have a care. Let's use a band as a situation. You walk in, I got the melody in my head, we're going to jam it, and if nothing happens with that song or software or masterpiece, whatever we jointly created, nobody cares. But if it's valuable, we're really going to care. And so very quickly here, this is a BC case, Sarah McLaughlin back in the mid-90s. She walked in, she had the song figured out mostly. She had the chord pattern figured out, the title figured out, and a guy named Dave from the band called The Odds, a very, very good band in Vancouver. They're jamming it. And he goes, oh, here's an 8-bar lick. That would kind of fit kind of good in there in a bridge. Oh, let's change this chord from a minor to a major. Let's change these lyrics a little bit. And she did. And of course, the song became a hit. Millions of dollars. Well, she registered copyright and all the rights to herself alone. Dave sues. He felt he was a co-owner. Went all the way to the Supreme Court of British Columbia, not the Supreme Court of Canada, but the Supreme Court of British Columbia. Judge said, Dave, sorry. You just offered suggestions and recommendations. There was no discussion on co-ownership. Therefore, 100% Sarah McLaughlin. He was offering suggestions and recommendations, and it was up to her to accept or discard. Now, apparently that was her intention. Point being here, you don't want to go through that. You want to agree. So what do you say if there's 3 people creating something? All you have to do is you don't hire us. You just say, hey, we own this piece of work called whatever the heck it's called, and our ownership is 33, 33, 33, or 29.2, 16.8, whatever it is, and you sign it. That's it. You're established. You're good friends. We'll keep your band together. Okay, so now to the important part, on the relevant part, and we're getting to the law on copyright, on what you've created, whether you can own it or not. So very quick history here. Copyright came in back in the Star Chamber days. We don't need to go through that. From 1850, British Commonwealth, 1911. From 1850 to 1911, here was the general law. Does not require the expression to be original. Rather, must not be copied. Okay, well, that's 1911, forget it. 1911 to 1995 in the US. In Canada, 1911 to 2004, so just, 14 years ago, here was the law for copyright. A work which is substantially derived from a pre-existing material may be the proper subject matter of copyright if and only of sufficient labor and skill. We called that sweat of the brow. The more you worked at it, the more clear your copyright was. Well, it penalized people like myself, genius, right? Because I just sort of, there. No, don't take that seriously. So in any event, and when you think about it, just about everything that's created is based on something before it, right? Just about everything. It's very, very, very rare. Well, maybe Donald Trump. It's very, very rare that something isn't based on something before it, right? That you're inspired by that piece of music, that masterpiece, that software, that 3D printer comes out of a printer. So our system is properly encourages you, creators, to be inspired, okay? So we're talking about the law on that. So here's the current law in the US. You to own your copyright work must involve intellectual effort with creativity the main test. Okay? Must involve intellectual effort with creativity the main test. Canada, this is the current law, need not be creative. Seriously. Must be an exercise of skill and judgment. Okay? Skill is measured by use of one's own knowledge developed by practice. Judgment is measured by use of one's capacity to form an opinion. So in the world of intellectual property, US is here, Canada's here, and Europe, and a lot of the rest of the world's here, okay? Canada's seen as a bit of a blue collar in the intellectual property world. Okay, so just, again, Canada need not be creative. Europe, love it. Would another author likely have created the same work in the same context? If yes, no copyright. Would another author likely have created the same work in the same context? If yes, no copyright. You can invent it, but don't be suing each other. So in other words, there must be room for creative choices. If you create something and there's no room for somebody else to have creative choices, you can commercialize it. What's a good example? Database. Directory. If you did a directory of all the lawyers in Calgary and I did a directory of all the lawyers in Calgary, we both did our job right, they'd be identical, right? Or if you did a map, and the law encourages us to put Rand McNally and all these other maps up in front of us and create our own, but let's not all be suing each other. Go commercialize your app, have your distinguishing characteristics, and you got to go work at it. You just can't photocopy my map, right? And so you got to show that you traveled to see if that back alley was still there or not, okay? So anyways, that gives you some examples. So let's bring this into a bit of a real world examples. So, Gordie Howe changed, like I say, it literally changed my life. And because of working with him as a Canadian lawyer, we became quite famous in Michigan. And am I doing okay here? I'm reading back. We ended up working with an artist named Doug West. Well, Doug West is an expert on doing artwork of famous athletes. And because of Gordie Howe, he came in and did some artwork on Gordie Howe. So he phones me up a couple of years later and he says, Wayne, I've been hired by the Baseball Hall of Fame to do pictures of Baseball Hall of Famers that are dead. Well, they got to be accurate. So they want Babe Ruth, they want Mickey Mantle, they want all these heroes, right? So he has to be necessarily working from a photograph, right? Well, then we did some research. We found out all the great photographs of Babe Ruth were, you know, the famous one like this or this, were all taken by the same photographer but Sports Illustrated. Uh-oh. We got to be really, really careful here because, of course, that photographer owns that image, right? So what we found is by doing a collage of the famous Babe Ruth pictures, 4 different collages, that one, whatever, and putting them in, there was enough skill and selection and creativity in the selection of those that it formed its ownership, and thank God he was never sued. Okay? Another example. The U.S., I'm using U.S. law because creativity is the standard, and I think we should try and meet the creativity standard. So postcards in the U.S. are a big deal. In about 94, 95, whatever in the U.S., Thanksgiving, this postcard was a picture of a family in Central Park, dog, husband, wife, 2 kids, park bench. It became a very, very famous postcard. It got sent around. Sculptor comes along and goes, hey, I'm going to make that. Plaster of Paris, metal, and made a lifelike replica, dog, bench, blah, blah, blah. Well, of course, photographer sued sculptor. Who won? Photographer. There wasn't enough despite it being a different medium, there wasn't enough creativity on setting up and establishing that. Okay? So, another example, basketball players, I can't think of his name right now, but a basketball player in, down in the U.S., they had a poster of him. There's no trademark issue here. but he was very identifiable. I mean, he had a low-cut basketball top and an identifiable gold bracelet, necklace. So the poster sold a lot. Another photographer came along and lifted out this section. First photographer sued second photographer. Who won? Right. There was enough skill and selection in picking that out. Okay, so my final example here, and sort of wrapping this up, is I'm going to sing you, I'm going to try and sing you a song, and you tell me whether I can own it. I'm not asking if it's worth anything, okay? I'm just asking you if I can own it. So, yesterday I want to hold your hand, hey Jude, baby, come and drive my car. I can't think fast enough. Can I own that? Yes, you got it. Because I had enough skill and selection in pulling out those beautiful fragments of music. Okay? So, my wind-up here, I think are we doing okay on time here? So, my wind-up here is we got to be creative. When you are being inspired by that new photo work that you want to take, that new piece of music, etc., make sure you bring in creativity. So I happen to research how to be creative. Yeah, you can smoke drugs, yeah, okay. So being creative. And this especially works, and this is research, okay, so I'm not being a complete idiot here. There's three standards that are widely accepted for, especially in group situations, on how to be creative. Number one, put on your favorite music. If you're going to fight over that, you're going to have a hard time working together, right? But when you put on your favorite music, our hearts are synced right away to that beat. And we're getting ourselves into a commonality. And there's creativity comes with music. Back in my early days of being a lawyer, I mean, if you were to have music on in your office or the headphones like they are nowadays, it was really discouraged. Today, it is recognized that our students or typically young lawyers are plugged in. It's okay. There's not the hassle that it was before. So number one, play your favorite music. Number two, think like a child. Research shows that a child, because they haven't learned no, will see 66, 67, 68 opportunities and whatever, new opportunities. Number three, we call it eat your favorite food. What it really means is take a break. Go for that hour. Don't go for 3 hours. Go for a Starbucks or a Dairy Queen or whatever your choice is, or just a walk. Come back, and you're more inspired. Given my professional hockey background, I watched, there's some relatedness here, I watched parents passionate to help their little Johnny or Jill become a professional athlete. And they kept them going all year. It's wrong. There's more creativity comes into the game. Like the pro hockey players, they have to get away from it. And they come back and they're more creative. So in any event, that's my presentation on creativity and intellectual property. And I got to end with this. I can't pull this off all the time, but I'll try. So how are you going to remember my name? Wayne Logan.